Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Friday the 13th, August 13th, 2021. Big news in the U.S., the major focus. Every day it's COVID, but aside from COVID, the other big focus today is the Taliban in Afghanistan. This coverage actually started last night in the U.S. when it was already Friday the 13th in Afghanistan. And I want to talk about why that is. I also want to talk about the Austrian Arnold Schwarzenegger being quoted all over the media from CNN to the New York Times, screw your freedom, in regards to people who don't want the vaccine. He's saying everyone needs to be vaccinated. And again, an Austrian who was the governor of California in the time that Uncle Numbnuts was the president of the United States, the former coke addict George W. Bush, the Skull and Bones member like his daddy who was the Republican president before him. Blowjob Billy separated their two terms. But, somebody in the chat says the right thing. Is like, we have to start the revolution or this is just going to get worse and worse. And hasn't yours truly been saying that that's what we have to do all this time? I mean, I've been pointing that out to people. That's why the FBI came into my house, you guys. That's the message they're really afraid of. They're afraid that somebody could actually ignite the revolution in this country. FBI came to my house. Let me think about what day it was. August 21st, 2018. That was the day the FBI came into my house. Same day in history, the movie Agent 47 came out, strangely. But FBI came to my house, falsely accused me of saying something I never said. I laughed at him, and I said, show me the proof. He fumbled with his phone, and he said, I must have left it at the office. I'll go back and get it, and then I'll be back here. And I said, no, you won't be back here because I never said that. And then later that night, hours after he came over, he must work the night shift, that guy, because he sent me came at probably 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m. He was probably at the house at 5. But he sent me a video that was the problematic video that I had uploaded to YouTube. And I didn't say at all what he said I said in the video. I'd tell you what I said. If I said what he said I said, it would probably get the video flagged. I didn't say it, though. And again, it was just like, what's this really about? But then he sent the video, and it was me saying the only solution to the tyranny in this country, as I said, we got to gather big and we got to burn this nation's federal government to the ground. You know, that's what I said in the video. So I was like, oh, well, that would make sense that the FBI would come to my house for that. And remember how it was. At the beginning of 2018, I was already like, my first channel, for people who don't know, was deleted June 28th, 2017. And by the start of March 2018, I was probably already on like my 14th channel or something like that. Maybe, I've lost count of how many channels it was back then. But they were like deleting a channel sometimes they'd delete a channel in a day. It would last one day and they just delete the whole channel. Strike one video and delete the whole channel. Then a channel might last 5 days. Then it might last a week, then 2 weeks. But they were just getting rid of my channels left and right. From June to the start of 2018, and then eventually I couldn't even make a YouTube channel. It wouldn't let me because I'd exhausted all the phone numbers that I knew. People's phone numbers who let me use their number, because back then you had to put in a YouTube phone number if you wanted to make a video longer than 15 minutes, and then eventually I needed a phone number just to create a new YouTube channel. I didn't have any more phone numbers to put on there. I tried like the free Google numbers, but it didn't work with that. It knew how to filter those out. So, well, I mean, it's a Google platform. I guess it makes sense why it knew how to filter it out. But, I couldn't make videos for a minute, and then I moved here. July 1st, 2018. I had an internet connection set up probably about 5 days after moving in, and I started making videos again. Gematria Effect News, Gematria Effect Sports. That Gematria Effect Sports channel was brand new then. It hasn't been deleted since. And Gematria Effect News has been deleted, close to 10 more times just since July of 2018. And twice, I've gotten so close to 100K subs, and they deleted it both times. I mean, it's hard to get your channel up to 100K subs. Notice Gematria Effect Sports. They've kept it since my channel went up to 74,000 subscribers after Super Bowl 55, and it's been at 74,000 and some subscribers until now. Now it's like it's 74,000.3. It's like, really, my sports channel has only grown by 300 people this year. Just YouTube's such a joke, and it's so obvious why they've kept it on 74. Again, what's Gematria equals 74 like English? Remember, they banned my book, my first book, Letters and Numbers, on the 74th day of the year. Etsy and all the other platforms that had it. And that day I had a video that got nearly 500,000 views on the shootings at the 2 mosques on the Ides of March. Because in October prior to that, we'd circled the Ides of March and said that they're foreshadowing some kind of big news story on that day. But, yeah, anyway, I'm just reminding people about how challenging it has been to get out the word. And that's not even half the story, man. I mean, there's been a bunch of shit that's happened to me. Any of you guys ever had a car crash through your house on Christmas Eve? I had that happen to me when I was 33 years old, of all ages, Christmas Eve car crashes through the house. And, a week before that, a strange YouTuber had made a threatening video for me on Christmas Eve. And, but yeah, there's just been so much stuff getting out the word. And, I appreciate everyone that have found the work. But you guys, the fact that within this community of all the people who followed over all the years, and again, I don't want this to sound like it's all about like money, but we do need to build resources, and we need to, again, to build community, you got to invest in your community, help the people around you, trade your goods and services within each other. Because you have to realize what we do in our society, right? Here's what we do as a people. We all go and shop at these big stores, right? And we all pay taxes to a big government in these big stores like Walmart and Target and Kroger and Amazon. These are the main companies that are pretty much getting us almost everything we buy. And what we're doing is we're taking our wealth and then we're giving it to these private companies that are ruled by investors who don't work. They just make money off their investments in companies that at the end of the day make their money off of us. But we can go out and invest in these things, right? We invest in these things and we pay taxes to government that's supposedly keeping us safe, but are they really? What if you found out that what your government was really doing was taking your money and then using it to strategically manipulate you so they can get even more money out of you? So they can use even more of your labor, blood, sweat, and tears, have even more power and influence over you, steer you right to the products they want you to buy, steer you to the stores they want you to shop at, And then when they need to do it, ram through a big policy that totally violates everything this nation's about, the government says, well, we're not making those policies. These private companies are, like Walmart. Never mind that we subsidize Walmart and pretty much build their stores and parking lots for them, do all the work for the roads to set it up so it flows into their store real nice. We do all that for free for Walmart because Walmart brings a lot of jobs to our community. Yeah, a lot of jobs that put honest people with better businesses in the community out of business because so many people are so poor, they'll go to the better business, get the product recommendation there, say they'll think about it, then they'll drive down to Walmart and buy it at Walmart because it's $5 cheaper. Next thing you know, the good business that you trusted that gave you the good advice so you made the right purchases, he's out of business because you didn't give him any business. You just took his knowledge and then you went and shopped at cheaper Walmart and helped destroy your community. And again, this is what's going on all over America because, you guys, we are a nation of useful idiots that are just being exploited by a small, powerful group of people that control the mega companies, the banks, the news channels, and those are the things that control the government, not the other way around. And everybody should be able to understand that. I mean, that's not something like, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. No, just look at it. Look at how many lobbyists are in D.C. compared to how many politicians, Look how much money all those lobbyists get paid. There's so much money from these private companies that's just working, massaging these politicians. I mean, it's just so obvious what it is, you guys. It's why you can't have human beings making laws over other human beings. This isn't the way the world's supposed to be. The mind control, like the fact that people can't understand that at this point is just pathetic. You live in a land where they put people in cages for growing a plant in their backyard that they just wanted to get some little buds off of, cure them a little bit, crumble them up, put it in some food, make some medicine, smoke it. That could get you in a cage. And why? Oh, because the government made a film called Reefer Madness about how marijuana makes people serial killers. And then that became the common knowledge of the useful idiots who are like, oh my God, I don't want that serial killer leaf in my community. Lock him up. Lock him up. This is what the country is. 9/11, an obvious mockery of every inch of our existence, while Shrub, the cokehead, is the president of the United States. You know, he guaranteed he was going to win. It's like, guaranteed you're going to win? You can't even formulate a sentence. He got dumber as time went on, but oh my God, you guys, man. It's just, you know, living in the idiocracy and seeing it your whole life. And that's what I realized, because I did start to see it when I was a kid. I just knew a lot of things were wrong as a kid, but 9/11 happened when I was 18, and I just couldn't believe how everybody fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And, you know, I said, okay, what's this country going to look like in 20 years? It's obvious our government is ran by criminals. Criminals, it's obvious. They mock you with it. The BP Gulf oil spill. What's in the New York Times right after it happened? The coincidence of Dick Cheney's Halliburton buying the cleanup company that got the contract for the biggest oil cleanup in history, the biggest government contract for such a thing. His company happened to get that, and the funny thing is, Halliburton had just bought the company that got the contract 2 days before the BP oil spill. This was in the mainstream media. That's why if you actually watch the news and you think yourself about some of the stuff they report, you know, you'll be like, what the hell? Okay. Does anybody not find that suspicious? And they're like, oh, the conspiracies again? It's like the conspiracies. Okay, people have been writing for, when did that happen, the BP oil spill? It was like around 2010, wasn't it? 2009, 2010? Spring? I don't think I've done the proper research on that since I started this. I don't know why I haven't. I'll go back and look at that more. I just remember the mainstream story. It's just enough. You don't even need Gematria. They report in the mainstream that Dick Cheney's company bought up the company right before it happened. They got the biggest government contract ever for oil cleanup. And, you know, when psychopaths are ruling over you, you know, and realize the thing about the psychopaths is, see, that's what we need to understand about the ruling class. They have information and knowledge that we don't have in the mainstream, where we think we're so smart because we got our piece of paper from our slave school. But, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. The ruling class has knowledge that we don't. You know, these companies that have had oil spills that probably really were accidents. I'm saying that BP thing looks to be manipulated for profit gain and for other political agendas. You know, that's going to be talked about again and again going forward in the age of climate, you know, climate change and Agenda 21, as they call all this stuff, and Agenda 2030. They're going to go back and see that's one of the things of why we can't use fossil fuel. And based on my information from my slave school, it does seem like there probably are better things we could do than fossil fuel. You know, you see a car that hasn't kept up, how it's just putting this black smoke everywhere, you know. I mean, it's just, you see how gross it can be, but at the same time, ingenuity and technology, I mean, really has made the automobile a much cleaner thing. So, again, people have to be open-minded about things. I think there's got to be better things than fossil fuel and oil, but at the same time, the people who control the world, they manipulate the world stage, and they play us for fools, and it's all for the sake of steering us and keeping us more and more under their thumb. The people who rule want to stay in power. That's the point of ruling, to maintain your rulership, to keep your family, you know, in line. You know, on Obama's birthday this year, what are the odds that in the MLB, the Royals and the White Sox are playing each other? Obama's favorite team's the White Sox. The Royals, Obama and Meghan Markle both have August 4th birthday. What are the odds that those teams are playing each other in Major League Baseball? Again, go back and read the article that NBC put out after Obama became president-elect. It's in 2008, about all the royal bloodlines he's related to. And just think about recent examples, the Bush son and father, Again, so many. You look at New York, the Cuomos. They even got the one family member, I guess, that's not good enough for governor, unless that's a future role for Chris Cuomo from CNN to who knows, governor, or who knows where he'd go, New Jersey, with the mob. The 201 area code in New Jersey, where all the pharmaceutical companies are headquartered. But anyway, the point I'm making is they've had oil spills, right? These big companies, they've been drilling oil out of everywhere. They know what it's like really happens to the environment for real when there's an oil spill. We get to learn about what happens through what gets put in books and what's on the news. And again, if you look at the book, you'll notice your book is paid for by these big companies. It's like, wow, my book that I have to pay all this money for at college is also put out by these big companies that are all about money. It's like, I knew I was getting hosed with this book. Not only am I paying way too... Realize, you guys, I mean, college is part of the mockery of our society. We charge all this money to young people, right, to get an education. And in the age of information where it flows so easily, why do these schools need to be so greedy? Why? Sweet Lady's tuition had its biggest price hike the year that they announced there'd be no at-class school and everybody would have to learn from their house because of COVID. It's like, wow. So they tell them that there's not going to be anything at school for the year and they raise the tuition the most? You think they'd say, you know what, because of COVID, we're going to drop the tuition. And I think this was standard across the nation. But you think they'd say, you know what, we don't need to use the building, so we're going to save money. We're going to pass those savings on to you because it's hard times. But not only that, but then you got to buy the super overpriced books. Again, this is all a mockery. This is all, it's like because again, we're taught to be slaves, you guys, and we're not taught to have any critical thinking skills, and we're taught to believe that we just live in the best country there ever was, and everybody just wishes they were Americans, and America, fuck yeah, Team America, world police. That movie captured the sentiment of America after 9/11. That's why when I watch that movie, it kind of makes me laugh and cry at the same time, because it's terrible. I'm like, they really captured like America's energy and just like the gung-ho retardedness. And anyway, man, I'm just saying these companies, because they've seen what really happens when there's oil spills, maybe they have learned that, it's like really bad for certain things, but it's not as bad as people might think because it mostly all floats up at the top. The point is, who knows? But they're running scams with us. They're manipulating us. They're literally destroying our environment to prove their point about climate change and global warming. And yeah, they do it all by a code, you guys. I mean, it's undeniable when you learn the code. So with regards to the code, why are we hearing about Afghanistan? Why is that like the big focus today on Friday the 13th? Again, this is very easy to understand. We've explained this before. We're going to do it again. First of all, the last time there was a really big news story on Friday the 13th, I'm not going to say what it was. I just want you to think. Let's do 10 seconds of thinking. The last time there was a really big story on Friday the 13th in the news, it might have been international news, might not just have been in the United States of America. What was that? Do you remember? Friday the 13th. Okay. What I'm thinking of is Paris, France, the shootings, nightclub shooting, and, it was webbed in with all the Charlie Hebdo stuff. And again, here's what I want you to think about. That happened in Paris, France on Friday the 13th. Let me show you a symbol as I talk about this. If you don't know this logo on the screen, the IHS with the 3 nails that represent triclavianism, with the Knights Templar cross. If you don't recognize this, the sun with the 32 sun rays. That is the Jesuit logo. The Jesuit order known as the Society of Jesus, who serve the Catholic Church, who are the military order of the Catholic Church like the Knights Templar once was, which is why they have the Knights Templar cross in their logo. So Afghanistan's back in the news on Friday the 13th. In history, the Knights Templar were burned at the stake on Friday, October 13th, 1307 in France. They were accused of, conspiracy and worshiping Baphomet. It's really interesting how in Gematria, Baphomet and Catholic in Europe are all 35. There's a lot more to that as well. I talk about what I think 35 is all about in my first book, Letters and Numbers, the one that was banned on the 74th day of the year, that calls out the Jesuits. Again, for all the people who say that I haven't been on the Jesuits, you're wrong. I've been talking about the Jesuits the whole time I've been here. And if you've read my first book, Letters and Numbers, which I was writing from the beginning until I released it at the start of 2018 and 2017, page 29 of that book, and that's an 800-page book, says, who's at the head of the thing is the Jesuits. That's what the code reveals. And I explain why. But the Templars, they were in the Crusades in the Holy Lands. Babylon, part of that's Afghanistan. And look at this. When we invaded Afghanistan after 9/11, the date was October 7th, 2001. If you doubt it, look it up. October 7th, 2001 is the day the U.S. invaded Afghanistan. And I pointed this out many years ago. Once upon a time, there were only 2 ciphers I knew in Gematria. We now just look at those same 2 ciphers, just running them in reverse. That's what we do. So now we look at 4 ciphers, but these are the only 2 I once knew. And Templar equals 85. We invaded Afghanistan on the day leaving 85 days left in the year. October 7th, 2001. The Holy Lands, where we went after this attack, blame on Muslims, right? The Crusades, the Catholic Church against Muslims, but really the Catholic Church also went against people that were against the Catholic Church. There were Christians outside of Catholicism, pagans, all sorts of different people, the Crusades went after. But we always think of it in the way we're taught history in the context of really the Catholic Church versus Muslims, the Crusades. And anyway, with the alphabetic order, just A is 1 up to Z is 26, Templar is 85, right? If you write out military, it's also 107. And October 7th is the day, written 10/7, like 107, military 107. And, over the years, he talked about many rituals with the military in 107. But again, just think about it. The calendar is in tribute to the Catholic Church, the Gregorian calendar. The English language is credited to a Catholic monk, and again, it was standardized with the spelling and 26-letter alphabet we use today at the same time the Gregorian calendar was being put into the world, and that was about a half century after the Jesuits came into being and started serving Rome. And again, the language and the calendar are clearly synced up, and by being aware of this, you see how dates like October 7th being the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Again, military 107, Templar 85. I mean, doesn't that just make sense? And then the thing about the Jesuits is, coming back to their logo, IHS, right? IHS. Look at this. That stands for Isus Hominum Salvator. Latin. 85, right? This year in the Suns, the NBA Finals, the Suns coach got his 274th career win, 274 days after his birthday, and then he didn't win a single game. He got swept from there. He was up 2-0 in the finals, then he lost 4 straight games to the Bucks. Suns equals 10, 10's the 4th triangular, 4 straight. The Bucks ended on the 201st day of the year, the really big Jesuit number. The same day the Bucks in the NFL are at the White House with Mr. 201 Joe Biden, who lost all of his family in 201 rituals. And again, just on and on and on. But Templar, 85. Isus Hominum Salvator, 85. And remember what we were just talking about with the ritual in Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, and the massive Jesuit military overthrow. Again, the Jesuits, a military that operate worldwide, a military order that operates worldwide within nations, that operates by infiltration. Again, you guys, they've been at it for centuries, since way before any of us were here, since the 16th century, since the middle of the 1500s. They've been building their network, and they've been warned about for centuries. I mean, people were warning about the Jesuit influence worldwide 300 years ago, you guys. But look at this. Look at this. What else is interesting about 85 is, and this is how you know when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. I mean, it's a big part of it. Christ equals 85 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. The 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo. The Jesuit Nation America with the 32 date numerology with the 56 signers. If you don't know about 56 in the Jesuits, I know you're new here, one of their biggest numbers. If you don't have any money, just go download my latest ebook, Letters and Numbers, off my Patreon page. It's free there. I last posted it for free on July 4th, so just scroll back to July 4th. Download it, do a control find for 56, and just start reading all the 56s with the Jesuits. And there's about 1 million more examples even since the book came out, which was almost a year ago now. It's getting close to being out for a year. Yeah, man, according to the numbers I've gotten, the books, unless there's some kind of miracle between now and October when it's the 1-year anniversary of being out, and really, I got my copies at the beginning of September. So really, beginning of September is when I first started. I ordered those 2,000 copies at the beginning and shipped them off. But yeah, the numbers, I'm just above 6,000 total sales in 1 year. And it's just like, I really thought the book, man, because, again, you guys, this book, man, it has got the knowledge to prove what is going on, who's running the show, why we need to stop it, how sick the game is, how you can see right through the game. And everything I wrote about in this book has been proven 1 million times over. And anyone who wants to say otherwise, I'm not going to do it tonight because they never call in, but for the people who are listening who want to say otherwise, let's set a date. This Sunday, I'm on the West Coast. We'll do it at nighttime so I know I'm home. We'll say 6 p.m. Pacific. No, we'll do 6:30 p.m. Pacific because normally we'll be eating around 5 or 6, so just in case dinner runs late. We'll say 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9:30 Eastern. I want the critics to call in again. I'll try to be nicer this time. I want you guys to tell me, what aren't you getting? Why are you disagreeing with my message? I want to know why you disagree with my message. What more evidence do you have to prove what's going on in the world? See, I'm someone who knew something was going on that was very wrong when I was 18 when 9/11 happened. I knew it had to do with numbers. Knew it had to do something with secret societies because they're all over in D.C. And again, I just went looking for the answers until I finally found what I was looking for. And then I tested it out and I said, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is so simple and so stupid. Why? Again, it all goes back to Kabbalah. And maybe it's not so stupid, but that was my thought when I first started. I was like, God, these people are dumb. I always wondered why 9/11, a national emergency on 911, you guys, all the answers are right here. But yeah, Isus hominum salvator, right? We invade Afghanistan on the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Big number with the Templars. Big date with the Templars is Friday the 13th. And remember, the last time there was a big news story for Friday the 13th, it was Paris, France, and that's where the Jesuits were created. And if you're new here, again, if you could only have one of these ciphers, if you could only have one, this is the one you would take. And you'd be able to prove gematria through and through, day after day, nearly every single news story with just this one cipher. So when people say, oh, you need 4 ciphers, that's just a bullshit statement. I always refute that argument, and I always prove my point how you can pretty much see enough if you just have this one cipher. And again, Paris, France, in the most pure cipher, 56. Washington, D.C., 56. Again, Paris, France is where the Jesuits were created. Washington, D.C. is their big stronghold now. And their official title, Society of Jesus, 56. And again, their big pandemic right now, coronavirus, 56. And their big programmed phrase, the CC climate change, 56, right? Paris Accords. There's so much more to this. Remember, coronavirus is 56, right? They changed the word to COVID, so COVID vaccine is 56. The first person in the world to get the vaccine was Maggie Keenan, 56. And then Captain Tom died from COVID 56 days later, 201 days after being knighted. Like Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation. And the first reported case of coronavirus in the world when it first began was December 12th, 56 days after the Event 201 coronavirus pandemic simulation. And then they changed it back to November 17th. Which is another date that connects right back to the Jesuits because it's 1117, the 187th prime. And notice something. When I run the alphabetic order in reverse, not with Maggie Keenan, but with Society of Jesus, Well, you see this right here, these three right here, Society of Jesus, Washington, D.C., Paris, France, they're all 56, 187. 1117 is the 187th prime. You know, Derek just did a decode on the death of the 41-year-old comedian over the weekend from, what is it called, The Whitest Kids You Know? I wasn't familiar with that, but again, just another race-themed thing when they're trying to put all this hyper-focus on race. But Derek found a really good observation with 1117 in that video. And let me see if I can remember off the top of my head. If you watch my video on it, I showed how, I think, God, his name equaled 191 and 79. From his show to his death was the 1117, the 187th prime, and then he died on a 56 date numerology. That's what it was. So again, these are the base ciphers right here of Gematria. The alphabetic order with the rules numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules numerology. And if you can only have one cipher, it's the alphabetic order with the rules numerology. Again, Manly P. Hall in The Secret Teachings of All Ages alludes to this. And Faith Giovanni with her book with Dusty Bunker, The Divine Triangle, also alludes to this, that this cipher is so important. And Faith Giovanni, who wrote her book about Gematria within English in the 70s, again, a book that pretty much nobody's ever heard of. I found it when I found Gematria and started looking for things. It's one of the only books out there that was ever written about it. And again, I love that the co-author is Dusty Bunker, like a forgotten military base. You know what I mean? The Jesuits, forgotten knowledge, military knowledge, art of war knowledge. But, yeah, just with regards to the 56s, they just go on forever. Like the face of coronavirus is Anthony Fauci, who's Jesuit educated, right? 56. And then Trump, who's Jesuit educated, he began his Jesuit education in 64, 56 years before 2020 when the pandemic began. And you know what's even weird? Like, I didn't even talk about this one anywhere in my book, but people keep pointing this out. Oh, it's when you run the alphabetic order in reverse numerology, though. When you write out 2020, it's that way, because 2020 was the year of all the 56. You know, that's not the one I normally talk about. But remember, in that cipher, Gavin Newsom is 56, who's Jesuit educated. And Gavin Newsom said that in 8 weeks, 56% of California will have coronavirus when he locked down the state, the first governor to do so in March. The same state where Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governator. Man, if you guys have read my book about Arnold Schwarzenegger just saying, screw your freedom, his quote everywhere in the news, screw your freedom, and he's not an American, he's an Austrian, Ottoman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire supposedly fell back then. We got to think more about this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of those 223s. But the thing is, he was in the Terminator movies, right? That's Schwarzenegger's biggest movie series. Terminator, and then probably Predator with his lines like, stick around and I'll be back. But Terminator's about technology overtaking man. And if you have not read my book, that's a big theme about one of the things that's really going on during the time of the pandemic. The technological infrastructure that's being put up everywhere and how that infrastructure is going to be used for surveillance and control over us. And rest assured that this major spending and stimulus, because we are a nation that's way behind on infrastructure. There will be some good things that will come with it. But guaranteed, no doubt, a big focus will be on greater containment, surveillance, and tracking of the people in all regards, even health matters. And that's why they've been pumping all these money into hospitals. You can just see that they're making... you can see that what they're going to do, they're going to make our futures and beliefs and understandings all about fear, disease, and illness and profit off us by injecting us like we're some kind of, lab mice. And, screw your freedom, man. Yeah, be a lab rat. Isn't that what you were taught to be here in America? Again, for someone like me who's not even 40 yet, I'm not even 40, but when I was in school, they're probably not teaching like this anymore, but when I was in school, there was all this fear about communism because I was in public school before 9/11. Well, I was in public school when 9/11 happened too because I was at a public college, but I mean just my K through 12. I went to public schools, and the focus was always on how bad Russia was and communism and how in communist nations people don't have real freedom and they're kept in fear and they're lied to and they're told constantly what they can and can't do by their government. And really you start to think about it, it's like, that doesn't sound a lot different than here. But I mean, now, in this time, in 2021, and really throughout the whole 21st century since 9/11 on, obviously there's been worse times than others, but Like right now, we're pretty much the worst. You can't even have sovereignty over your body. You're being ridiculed by the Governator, the Terminator. Screw your free. You guys, it should show you that the news media companies in the U.S. don't have Americans' interests at heart. I mean, do you think American news would be broadcasting an Austrian telling you to screw your freedom when your nation's supposed to be about freedom? And only the people under mind control just can't even see this. And also, why does Arnold Schwarzenegger's opinion matter? How come he gets to go on the news? Just because he's a celebrity? Does anyone associate Arnold Schwarzenegger with intelligence? Well, he was the governor. If you're that person out there, that's why they get away with it, because there's people even dumber than Arnold Schwarzenegger in this nation that probably make up over half the population. And that's saying a lot. We're talking about a guy who was on camera because of the way he looked, but you could see he struggled as an actor. I mean, what's Arnold Schwarzenegger's longest sentence in a movie? Did he ever say more than 6 words in a sentence? Most of his hit lines are 3 to 4 words. And he's the guy telling you, screw your freedom, from Austria. By the way, you guys, the reason it's so obvious that running the alphabetic order in reverse is important is look at things like this. Look how Francis is 119 and 47. Well, it's also 70 in the most simple cipher. But notice how Francis and Vatican are the exact same in all ciphers. Again, Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. He's the 266th pope. That motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, it's 266. You see the 122? Pope Francis equals 122. Again, this stuff's very cleverly thought out. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. The Jesuit motto is Isus Hominum Salvator, 266. Just like when he spoke in D.C., the Jesuit stronghold, on September 23rd, 2015. That was the 266th day of the year. San Francisco, which is named after St. Francis of Assisi, equals 122 like Pope Francis. San Francisco's on the 122nd meridian. There's reasons that they've chosen these numbers. And I still haven't figured all that stuff out, but a lot of it is biblical. My whole thing about 266 is in the 26th verse of the Bible, God makes man on the 6th day. 26:6. And, Isus Hominum Salvator is Jesus, Savior of man. Man made on the 6th day, the 66-book Bible. But I think all of these number pairings are biblical. And there's a reason they've been chosen and cleverly thought out. It's really mind-blowing what they've done when you study this. And remember, my one of my clearest examples that the Jesuits had something to do with this from the beginning is just the word Jesus, Who coded this? Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables, Jewish, occult, I hit the wrong button. What'd I do? Masonic, all these things are 74, And, I didn't even put it up there. English, gematria, energy, everything has a vibration. They're influencing us, essentially energy. But again, who coded this into the language? Gematria is a Jewish practice from Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, Hebrew language. Hebrew alphabet is 22 letters. Each letter is known as a number in Hebrew. In English, we have 26 letters. Most people do not realize that English has a numerical structure to it. But think about this. In Hebrew, the word God equals 26. English is a 26-letter alphabet where God also equals 26. And when you use the alphabetic order and rules of numerology, letter is 26, like our 26-letter alphabet. There's a lot of parallels with English and Hebrew. And again, the Knights Templar brought back all this knowledge after the Crusades to the Catholic Church for it to be studied. And it seems that when the Jesuits came in, who were Jews who converted to Catholicism, they were able to come in and make better sense of the knowledge because it's in their culture, it's not in the Catholic culture. So this is what the Jesuits are, this Jewish Catholic hybrid, network, power structure. And with regards to the 119 on, Vatican and Francis and September 11th and the Templar invasion, remember the symbol on Israel's flag is referred to as the Star of David, which is 119 and 47, just like, and also 70, 11947-70, like Vatican, like Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. And don't forget that France alone equals 47, because the Jesuits are from France. D.C., the land of 47. Washington, D.C., the land of everything is 47, where the founders studied in France. The Scottish Rite came to power in France, in Paris, where the Jesuits are from. The Scottish Rite's the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. Again, there's a lot of really straight arrows, probably straighter than any Templar could ever shoot when you just look at all that's lined up and how much sense it all makes. But again, I've been saying since the beginning, who did this? Who coded the language? Who coded Jesus 74, into all those words just using the alphabetic order? And then for the other ciphers, well, I mean, what are the odds that when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology, Jesus Christ is 74, right? And, you just think about D.C., the first university, Jesuit Georgetown, established in the year that George Washington turned 57. Georgetown equals 57 in the most pure cipher. He was a Mason in the Jesuit Catholic town that was D.C. He's got the 187 in his name, George Washington, like Washington, D.C., like Society of Jesus. There's so much to all of this. But, again, it's obvious that we're living out their script. We're living out their planned agenda. Earlier this year, after Biden became president-elect by the numbers, again, if you weren't here, we said all year why it was going to be Biden. It was clear as day why he would be number 46. Again, in Gematria, Catholic is 46. There's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. He becomes the second Catholic president. JFK was the first. Number 35, killed at age 46. But again, Israel, with the Star of David, their establishment date in history is May 14th, 14/5, like 145. And again, 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than the Protestant Old Testament. And the Old Testament's the Jewish section. And the Jesuits are this Catholic-Jewish hybrid that had so much influence in the 16th century and have had more and more influence ever since as their order's growing worldwide. Isn't it obvious? Who's running the show? I mean, Sunday night, I need the critics. And I guess the only other kind of, well, if I say this, then this will be everybody calling in. I really want the critics to call in. If the critics don't call in, the next people in line would be the people who are having trouble persuading anyone around them about the relevance of Gematria. Because the truth is, now that I'm so good at explaining things, I can get most people to think like, wow, that does sound interesting, but do they follow up on it? I don't think a lot of people do, because at the end of the day, they just want to go with the flow like everybody else. They want to just move with the herd and not go against the grain. I used to like this guy Jim Hightower. He'd always say, even a dead fish can go with the flow. And I thought that's a good point, man. Because I when I read that, I was probably like in my early 20s when I read his book where he wrote that. And that's exactly what I was noticing. I was just like, everybody just goes with this like herd mentality. It's just like nobody's thinking. Everybody just has the same insults. And it's just, I mean, that was my reality after 9/11 when I found out you couldn't question anything. Everyone would just call you names and all this stuff. It's like, oh my God, they're acting like I'm crazy. You got to be crazy to not see how big of a lie this is. And it's the same shit with COVID. But, yeah, Friday the 13th, we talked about this. That's why I wish my channel had never been deleted. I'd try to go back and watch the work. I covered it in such a big way. Remember how much, like, I was just doing, I was like up for like 24 hours just putting out videos and posts, just researching every last thing, Templar presentation, all sorts of stuff, man. I mean, there was just so much evidence of how in effect this code was when that happened. Just like at Charlie Hebdo, just like what's happened a million times. Just remember the rituals they did with France last year? The beheading on the anniversary of the beheading of Marie Antoinette, and just every single one of those Paris, France things was just a huge joke, man. But yeah, but before I wrap this up, the other thing I got to say about the Taliban is the Taliban did not want poppies in their country because poppies get made into opium and heroin, and those drugs can destroy people because they're so addictive. And I think a lot of people go to those drugs because they want to escape from the horrors of this world. And the horrors go on in this world because we as a people keep consenting to them. We keep consenting to bullshit religion. We keep consenting to bullshit government. We keep consenting to bullshit news, bullshit policies, bullshit laws made by man. And again, everyone's mind controlled to think like, oh, well, if those didn't exist, we'd all kill each other. Okay, let me start with you. If all of a sudden you found out that the government dissolved tomorrow, would you be more inclined to go out and just start killing everyone? Or would you be more inclined to be like, okay, I'm going to need some network and community. Who can I trust and who can I start working with right now? What's my plan of action? Is that more like what you would be? Or would you be like, I'm going to go out and kill everybody because there's no government? See, everyone gets these thoughts like that's how it'd be, but it's like, would you be like that? Oh, you wouldn't be like that. So why would everybody else? Oh, I don't know, because that's what's been programmed in my mind from watching TV. That's what I always hate about Americans, too. I am American, but just Americans always tell me that I watch too many movies and stuff. I'm like, probably watch less TV and movies than almost everybody. A lot of times people are having these conversations about celebrities. I don't even know who they are. But, yeah, the Taliban didn't want opium and heroin in their country, and they got rid of the poppy production. It's no secret that U.S. soldiers have been guarding major poppy production fields by our military for the entire time we've been over there. And also, in that same time, coincidentally, heroin and opium products and opiate-based, pharmaceuticals have flooded the streets of America more and more. If you saw me out interviewing people when I was in Yakima, about what they were going through, their experience being, I talked to like at least 4 people on the street who got the Adderall addiction, the new one that's more concentrated. When I was taking the young man around trying to get him on his way, and the last time I saw him, I dropped him off at his grandma's house. She was going to let him stay the day there for that day. I haven't heard from him since, so maybe he's been with grandma ever since. He has my number and everything, and I did a lot for him, but maybe his grandma took him in, so. But yeah, for people who ask what happened to him, I don't really know, but the last time I saw him, I dropped him off at his grandma's house, so. But yeah, I got to see him just have the jerks all over the car when you're coming off these opiate-based products. And again, you just see who runs the nation. They'll knock down some towers in New York, blame it on a boogeyman, send us off to wars that are going to generate all kinds of money for corporate America. And you just start to see how it's really like a big laundry cycle, because what is Coca-Cola really? I think underneath Coca-Cola is more corporate fascism. I'm sure it's there if you look. But Coca-Cola, like if you look into it, they made so much money off the war, which means they made so much money off the taxpayers, and they also helped out the big bankers. But yeah, go back and look at the kind of scams that were ran on the U.S. taxpayer. We were paying $16 per Coca-Cola. This was at one point this is stuff they put on the mainstream news. I'll never forget it. Just how they report on the nightly news, like ways that like we could question what's being done for the troops. Is it worth it for Americans to pay $16 to Coca-Cola per Coke for the war? Because that's what we were doing. Like, who's agreeing on those policies? What kind of people are really in Washington, D.C.? They always want to go to abortion and these emotional issues to get people to go on, I'm going either this way or that way. But then what are they doing while they're there? Abortion's not changing. They're always holding that over our head like a piñata. By the way, abortion equals 122. The decision was January 22nd, 122. Satanic equals 122. Again, the Church of Satan was established in San Francisco, which equals 122 on the 122nd Meridian West in the year 66. 66 books in the Bible. Number of the beast equals 66. It is 666. But, just all sorts of big corporations got all this money for shipping their products over there, and it's like, well, why? Well, why does Coca-Cola need to be paid way more per soda? I don't get it. I think in part of the breakdown, the reason it costed so much is, Coca-Cola was charging more for some reason, and then also the transportation and the vehicles and the cooling, and so they were just showing that that's what it is per Coca-Cola. So it's like, okay, who the hell is deciding that the American taxpayer deserves to be paying $16 per Coca-Cola for the troops? Because this is bullshit. Is Coca-Cola good for our troops? No, not on any level. The sugar's terrible for you. It's not good for your teeth. It's not healthy. This is a trash product that people are addicted to. That's why people drink soda the way they do, because they're addicted. I've seen the terrible headaches people have when they try to stop drinking soda when they drink it every day. This is a way more hardcore drug than reefer madness. But then what is a hardcore drug is opium, heroin, and our government, our military went over there and killed the Taliban, drove them out of power, brought back the poppy production, and the next thing you know, it's not just America. There's a heroin epidemic throughout the world right now. An opioid crisis throughout the world. And in the time the West, has invaded the Middle East and upped the production again, this has all happened. So, how can you look at this from any other perspective besides seeing the big racket that is going on? And I forget who said it, but other people have made the same point, that the world's always been controlled by the same, with the same tactics. And, that is controlling people with drugs and addiction, controlling with fear and militarism and killing, and also seducing people, with bribery and sex. And I think at the end of the day, those things just have not changed at all. Like, you want to make a religion for humanity? Focus on the things that are really used to manipulate people into doing bad out of greedy interests. They're led by evil people into doing bad for ultimately everyone, including themselves. They think they're getting ahead because they're getting some money or something, out of it. But in the end, it's not going to be good for them or anybody else. But, yeah, it's just, it's sick. It's sick, you guys. It's sick what these people do. And just this is propaganda, you guys. Taliban seizes city. The Taliban's in Afghanistan. They were driven out of power, though. Most of them were killed. Who knows what's really going on? We're lied to every day. But, the Taliban is a thing from Afghanistan, right? This is the U.S. who invaded the nation based on this bullshit-ass story that's the most obvious bullshit there ever was. Still no explanation for Building 7. And Enron and WorldCom, who were getting these historical lawsuits, they thanked their lucky stars and got down and prayed to Jeebus on 9/11 because all of their files and records, that would have been even way more incriminating, all burned up that day. That was the official story. Oh, that was a federal building, and, as it went down, all these files were destroyed for the lawsuits against Enron and WorldCom. It's like, oh my God. And then Enron at the time was the biggest, contributor to the George W. Bush presidency. This is all just the stuff in the mainstream, it's like, okay, based on the stuff you're showing me in the news, how could I not? It sounds like you're trying to make me a conspiracy theorist. You're putting all this stuff here. What am I supposed to think? It's all just a coincidence? Anyway. I'm debating on if we should talk about America's pastime, baseball, on the 13th, and just how all these 13 riddles are just flying right through. Again, you see the game is rigged. You can take advantage of the rigging, and that's what I'm trying to help people do. And I'll tell you what, if everybody was on the Patreon, $5 a month, getting the knowledge today, I'll tell you what, you would have made enough money today to pay for the next 500 years of Patreon probably, and you wouldn't even have to bet that much. And again, takes resources to get places. Yeah, it's possible I'm getting screwed. Maybe the book really has sold more than 6,000 in some copies, but maybe that's just what they're telling me. That would make me so mad. It wouldn't surprise me, but it'd make me so mad how evil these companies are if that's really what was going on. I really did think that the book was going to sell a lot better. I thought there was going to be a big chunk of change that came in from that book, and I'd just be like, okay, now I got a nice little nest egg here. We can take some risks. And it's sad. It's sad that didn't happen, because I've given a lot to this community and worked real hard and put the knowledge in a very palatable form, very persuasive form, very undeniable form, and I don't know, man. There's just not buzz where there needs to be buzz about this knowledge at such a crucial time for it to be there. It's been crucial this whole time, and, you got one of those hourglass things. There's definitely less time as time goes on, so. Oh, yeah, by the way, Arnold, his headline, it really made the rounds today on the 13th, but it broke yesterday with USA Today. And August 12th was 13 days after his 74th birthday, a man born in 47. But in light of him saying screw your freedom, remember the real word for freedom, I think they created the word freedom. It doesn't need to be there. We could just have the word liberty, but they give us freedom, which means liberty. But it has dumb in it, right? And that's the word we really like to use in America. Liberty sounds a little bit more prudish. We like freedom. It makes the sound that encapsulates what we are. Freedom, There's no way it's a coincidence, you guys, the big joke that's upon us. It's just joke after joke. Again, every day with these people, it's April Fool's Day. But liberty with the most simple cipher is 91, which, of course, is the 13th triangular number, right? So I think there's something about the Governator, the Terminator, calling people like myself schmucks and saying screw your freedom. And really, I guess people like most people who are listening, except for those critics who probably don't have enough balls to call in Sunday night. What Arnold Schwarzenegger should call in. I would love to debate Arnold Schwarzenegger. That would probably get Gematria on the map. If I could debate Arnold Schwarzenegger. How do we make that happen? People wonder why things don't happen. The only things that get out there are the things that the controllers want out there. They control the things that people talk about because the mainstream only talks about what's on TV, what's in the news. Who controls that information? The same people who control your government, the same people who control the big business, the same people who control the banks, same people who control celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I'm just waiting for the band Rage Against the Machine to release an album called Screw Your Freedom. Title 1, Let's Get Vaxxed. Yeah, that Tom DeMorello from Rage Against the Machine, he is anything but raging against the machine. That guy is the machine, man. I don't know about the front man. I don't know if he's as fake as Tom Morello. Tom Morello's cool, though, how he plays the guitar. I'll give him his props for that, but yeah, that guy is so down with the system. It's like, how were you in the band Rage Against the Machine? I guess you just play guitar and go where the money is. Oh, yeah. Look at what CNN's got up on their front page right now. Your child will wait for another child to die. What a headline, right? I just want to close out with this headline. We'll just use the most simple cipher. The most simple cipher. For the record, little warm up here. The most simple cipher is really called Simple English Gematria. That's the official name of this cipher. Simple 74, English 74, Gematria 74, right? And in that cipher, if you write out, your child will wait for another child to die, it equals 433. Now, that's the 84th prime number. And Jesuit is 84. And I talked about this in my first book, this pattern of 433 and 84 with the Jesuits. Fidel Castro, who used to be the leader of Cuba, Jesuit educated, he shook hands with Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope. Pope Francis, he turned 84 in the year of the pandemic. Go figure. His birth numerology is 84. The leader of the Jesuits died at age 84 that year, the superior general. But from the day that he shook hands with Pope Francis to the day that Fidel Castro died was 433 days later, the 84th prime number. And then from the day that Fidel Castro died to the day that his son supposedly committed suicide was 433 days later, the 84th prime. And again, prime numbers are just numbers that cannot be divided except for by themselves in one. They can't be divided by any other numbers. And again, numberempire.com, great website for number stats. You just type in a number and it says, is it prime? Yes. Also, Derek's website's great too. You can, the thing is, when I do my live stream, his calculator shows up in a pop-up window for me and you can't see the pop-up window. But if you do it on your own computer, you'll definitely see the pop-up window and it works pretty much like Number Empire. So at GematriaEffectNews, where you do the Gematria, you can also go up to Tools and then Number Properties. And then, see, I have a pop-up window on my screen right now. You know what I can do, though? I can manually, let me see if I can get it so you can see the pop-up window. This is it. So this pop-up window is on my screen, but you can only see it now because I had to change which window it's showing in the browser. Again, I'm not the... But anyway, it's the same thing. So this pops up, and by default, it's always just on 3. But if you type in 433... it'll tell you it's prime. It's the 84th prime. So this is a pattern we've talked about a lot. And again, that's who's running this scam, is the Jesuits. And the Jesuits operate, with psychological warfare, which is largely fear-based, military-based, consequences-based, pay or else, end up in a cell, get the jab, or be in Coventry. Remember, that was the big sick joke about the first vaccines being in Coventry. Coventry means social isolation. And again, told you guys at the beginning of this that we'd be living with this through the start, at least through the start of the Year of the Tiger, maybe through all of the Year of the Tiger, because of all the tiger symbolism at the beginning. Year of the Tiger starts February 2022, goes through that time 2023. If we don't overthrow what's going, they're just going to keep playing games with us, making it worse and worse. And it's sick what they're doing. I wonder how much of the country right now is living in smoke. Here in the middle of Washington, we've been in a lot of smoke for over a month now. It's real bad right now, It's getting worse and worse. And, it's sick what these people do, but they are. The same Jesuit cabal is setting the fires. And again, they're burning down small towns. What just happened to that town in California is no accident. That's Agenda 21. They want to get rid of small towns like that. They want more people in cities. They want less people in rural environments. This has already all been agreed to. This was all planned in the 90s. People got to know what's up. And that's why they keep us entertained all the time. And that's why nobody knows what's up. Again, go to a bookstore. The most amazing books, very inexpensive. What if you want to go to a concert or a sports game? Costs a fortune just for a night to be entertained. You'll pay all this money to a book that you can have for your life, full of knowledge, relatively inexpensive. Those books, that concert brings in way more money in one night than the bookstore is going to bring in a whole year and probably a decade. And again, it's just as a society, we value all the wrong things, and it's apparent on so many levels. I mean, if you grew up in America, it's probably still the same. I think it's been this way for a long time, even before I was a kid. But, I mean, there's like a cultural, stigma with being intelligent. Like you're kind of a nerd or a dork, or you're too smart, or, it's like we praise mediocrity and, being a fun kind of lovable dumb guy who believes a lot in freedom, Are the beers cold? Is the TV on? Is the microwave dinner tasting all right tonight? All right. I'll just get my vaccine and march on. So yeah, we're the invading force in the Afghanistan saying the Taliban is taking over their cities. What does that mean? That they're getting rid of the invaders? See, that is what it means. The people that have brought all this drug production in their country, spread all this crisis throughout the world, created all these addicts, cut all these lives short. The way people believe it, Prince is one of those casualties. Did we not call Prince's death before it happened? We certainly did. Called a lot of things before it happened. All by the numbers, man, because these people do it again and again. By the numbers. And yeah, for all the people that think 13 is a bad number, I don't know. For some people it might be. But again, don't give things more power than they deserve. Is 13 really a bad number? In Western culture, they teach us that 13 is so bad, but is it really bad? Because in other cultures, it's not. And if it's 13 so bad, then how come this nation that's so great has 13 stripes on the flag and began with 13 colonies? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that this nation is so great. 13 layers of bricks on the dollar bill, 13 layers of bricks on the pyramid on top of the Scottish Rite Temple in D.C. But 13 is definitely a special number to the gang. The moon, 13 months in a lunar year. Jesus and the 12 disciples. A lot of 13s on the dollar bill. But yeah, if 13's so unlucky, why is it all over this nation's history? Because in terms of the modern belief system of the world, America is not thought to be an unlucky place. A lot of people believe that it is the land of milk and honey, and that's why they come here. They're getting this new world order narrative to come to America where they can really exploit you. You can be a lab rat. You can go down in America with a big expensive hospital bill that becomes part of a taxpayer corporate financial fraud Ponzi pyramid scheme. That's what it is in this nation, man. You start to look at how all the money is and the money supply and what it's based on, and it's a whole bunch of bullshit, man. We live in Bullshitville. That's why they got this guy. And to call somebody a schmuck, you're a schmuck, you guys, because you value freedom and you're not afraid of something that sounds like typical illness that we've always seen within humanity in cycles, especially in the cold part of the year and especially in unhealthy people and the elderly. I mean, there's nothing. That sweet lady's at a hospital. She's been there for 1 week, and there's been one code blue the whole week she's been there interning. She's there 10 hours a day. There was one code blue this week, and who it was somebody who supposedly had COVID, and they were in their 70s and very overweight. So they were older and very big. And they have COVID, right? That's your COVID case, your code blue for the week. And that person did live. They had to put them on, some kind of regimen, but they came in really bad shape. They were having trouble breathing from COVID, right? Not because they're way super obese and already older. In a way, it's like, wow, it's amazing to think that people like that have even lived this long. It's like to be that fat and that out of shape and to make it to 70, not bad. My uncle who drank way too much and smoked a lot and probably didn't get enough sleep and partied a lot, he barely didn't make it to 60. He was almost 60 years old. He died just short of his 60th birthday. I think it was like 2 weeks short of his 60th birthday he died. And he died in December, and then over a decade later, his wife dies in December, right around the anniversary of his death. It's funny how things are like that, though, within humans, Your soul partner, she's probably thinking about it extra hard, probably every year on the anniversary of his passing, and then, she ends up going around that time. I mean, that shows you just like the spiritual, psychological component of us as humans, and this sick cabal is always tormenting that, That's why they say there's things that are worse than death. You know what's worse than death? Having to watch this world be run by these creeps, these psychopaths, and them getting away with it. It almost does make you wish you were just asleep like the rest of the herd, but again, there's a reason part of us are awake, and maybe that's the way God operates. That He keeps the spell from taking all of His people. He's like, you guys got to figure out how to do the rest, man. I'm doing this much, you guys got to do the rest. See, everyone's got these crazy bullshit beliefs. Belief, that word with lie in the middle. All these bullshit beliefs. That's exactly what I said, straight from your bullshit religious books. They're all full of numbers. And again, there's full of knowledge and good stories in there, and there's a ton of bullshit in there too. And again, that's how a lot of things are in the world, and you just got to cipher. So it's not to say the Bible's all bad or these holy texts are all bad, but everyone believes in their bullshit. Belief has lie right in the middle. A lot of these beliefs keep people from being able to do anything to tyranny. Can a Christian do anything to tyranny? No. A Christian is instructed to turn the other cheek and wait for Jesus to come back and set things right. How do you think the tyrants like that religion? Fuck yeah, we want that religion. No wonder they got that book printed so fast and got it out there. That's exactly how we want our populace to be. Turn the other cheek, wait for Jesus. And it's not to say that it's any different for the other religions. It's not like anyone from any religion's doing anything. Just preaching their bullshit, putting out their offering plate. But yeah, here in the Gematria community, you couldn't say that about us. We're doing things out here. We're working hard. We're putting out knowledge. We're helping wake people up. We're pounding pavement. Gematria community's representing. We need more people, though. Way more. So, yeah. It's sick, man. Arnold Schwarzenegger, screw your freedom. And you think these are, yeah, it speaks for itself. I don't even say anything. Your child will wait for another child to die. Oh, yeah. Let me close out one more thing. You see, this is coming out of Dallas County. This story's coming out of Dallas County. Your child will wait for another child to die. This is Friday the 13th, right? And that's a really scary headline for parents on Friday the 13th, right? And in the most pure cipher, Dallas is 13. So, of course, we got to go with a scary story. Oh, shit, man. These people people, man. You get it now, right? You get it, right? Think about it. Where am I going to go? What am I going to say next? I'm surprised I didn't catch it earlier. I should have let off with this tonight. This is the story of the night right here. Do you know about the JFK assassination in Dallas? Do you guys know about this? JFK assassination, Elm Street, where JFK was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. What are the Friday the 13th movies called? Nightmare on Elm Street? Oh, man. They ran through a theater, and Lincoln was shot in a theater. Lincoln was 56. 56 signers on the Declaration of Independence. The victor writes the history books. I'll tell you who's been winning the whole time and bullshitting us the whole way, you guys. It's just so obvious. I mean, why would you think that the history back then's anywhere near true? I guarantee you the Jesuits and Catholic never let this country out of their fingers for 1 second, man. They controlled it the whole time. And their influence is just growing, though. You know, it's just like they've had a stakeholdership in it. They're like, ultimately, we're going to, all right, people want to do this over here? Okay, we'll experiment with this, but we're going to make sure we still got the final say-so. But yeah, this is it, man. Dallas on the Friday the 13th. Man, these people are some sick fuckers, man. For all the moms out there tonight tripping because you watch so much CNN, you know. For the lady I appreciate who makes the short gematria clips. For all the mothers out there on Friday the 13th who watch too much CNN. This headline, your child will wait for another child to die. Again, this is why you need gematria, so you can just cut right through this headline and not let this put you in fear. Remember, the children were relatively safe from COVID until the vaccines got approved for them. Then all of a sudden, kids just started to have cases of COVID all over the nation. There was a big outbreak in Arkansas. It's like, wow. Dude, it's like the COVID was waiting for the vaccine to be out there to infect the children. Amazing. Amazing how stupid all of this is and how dumb you have to be to not see through it. Freedom. But yeah, man, Dallas 13 in the most pure Cipher. I can't tell you how many times we went off old 13 in Dallas in rig sports. But, yeah, it's just... It's something else, man. It's something else. I get it. Dallas, Elm Street. I mean, this is what this shit is, you guys. Don't forget that Andrew Cuomo, don't forget that he deployed the National Guard, 56, like coronavirus, to that, what was the name of that town in the middle of nowhere in New York? I forget what the name of the town is. I could look it up. I don't even want to. I think the name of the town equaled 56, if I did look it up. Pretty sure the name of the town even equaled 56. But he deployed the National Guard to that town on the anniversary of the film Outbreak releasing, where the governor, or is it the U.S. military, whatever, deploys the military to this rural town where there's about to be this crazy outbreak in the country. It's just... And everything else that they've done, too. There's been a million tributes to the movies. Right now, they're making fun of conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theorists are equating COVID with Will Smith's I Am Legend. It's like, well, maybe there is something to think about in that movie. A movie about a vaccine that was meant to save the world ends up destroying the world. People can't have an imagination and say maybe there's something to think about there. All of a sudden, vaccines... Well, in the time that vaccine rates have increased, not just from COVID, but just over these decades of more and more vaccines to prevent against more and more illness, supposedly these medical miracles, in the same time that children and babies are getting all these new vaccines, there's all these new disease and illness and higher rates of cancer and autism and SIDS, all these new things that weren't there not that long ago, and not to mention just, more and more children super obese. For whatever reason, seemingly more and more children asexual, homosexual, wanting to be transgender. I mean, again, you look at it, all of this stuff, again, factors back into population control, from wars to everything else they're doing. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave it there, True Seeker. I went a little bit long. I told Sweet Lady I wouldn't be too long. I think I've been kind of long, but there's a lot to say. And Yeah, this capital. Just if you guys are new here, you really should go back and look through the videos of mine that still remain from all the channels being deleted. Anything you can still learn about the capital insurrection, just and everything else, you really should take it in. You'll just see how it's the Jesuits behind all this. It's clear as day. It's undeniable, and yeah, that's what I've decided to do because the book I've been working on, I don't like it because just my mood and energy and the way I feel, it's like I've been like more of a roller coaster than I normally am, and it's because of the times, man. I'm stressed out by the times, and I realize it's weakness, but yeah, I just don't like my book right now, and so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the best parts of it and make it really short. I'm trying. I think I'm gonna make a book that's like less than 50 pages, and then all the stuff I don't like right now, I think I'll take the time to rework through it. Because I got to get something out, but I realize if I just have like a really hard-hitting short book, that might make more people pick it up. It's not as intimidating. You can read through it in an hour, couple hours, and just be like, holy shit, maybe I need to look into this. And the other thing is they'll be way cheaper to print, so I can charge less for them. Like I'm thinking about making my next book $5 to see if that makes people buy it. Because is that the problem? The book's $20? People don't want to pay $20 for the book. So I got to get the knowledge out there in a printable form. Again, having stuff on computers and phones, that's good until the day that, if they take the grid down, man, then how do you access the information? You need it in your hands. You know what I mean? You need it on a bookshelf somewhere. And, but yeah, so I might even make the book 48 pages on purpose. Because it's about exposing what the Illuminati really is. And Illuminati's 48 in the most pure cipher. Put it back on them. So. Anyway, we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. And we'll be back next time. Have a good night.